Dawn breathes softly upon the forest monastery. The mist curls over the bamboo roofs, each droplet shimmering like liquid glass. Bells echo faintly as monks begin their morning walk, their saffron robes brushing against the dew-soaked earth. The world seems untouched, perfectly still, until distant footsteps break the rhythm. A man approaches, his breath uneven, his eyes carrying the storm of unshed tears. Within the monastery, Buddha sits beneath a bodhi tree, his gaze serene, unbound by sound or fear. The man, Kiran, bursts through the wooden gate, his anger trembling in the morning air. Ananda turns sharply, sensing the disturbance, but Buddha simply breathes, one slow inhalation, one gentle exhalation. In that breath lies the calm of the universe itself, meeting fury not with resistance but with infinite stillness. The wind pauses, as though the world holds its breath before awakening to the lesson about to unfold. The air trembles with tension. Kiran's voice cuts through the temple courtyard like a blade, trembling with accusation. "You taught my brother to renounce the world," he shouts. "Now my mother weeps alone." His anger echoes across the stone floor. Ananda's hands tighten around his robe, torn between protecting his teacher and remaining calm. Buddha, still seated beneath the bodhi tree, gazes at Kiran with eyes unclouded by judgment. His words are gentle, but they strike deeper than any reprimand. "The pain you feel," he says softly, "is not from your brother's choice, but from your resistance to it." Silence follows. Birds return to the trees. The storm finds no ground to grow upon. For the first time, Kiran hesitates, unsure whether he stands before an enemy or the mirror of his own suffering. 950 characters. The courtyard hums with silence, the kind that follows thunder. Buddha's gaze remains steady, neither challenging nor retreating. "When a torch burns your hand, you do not curse the fire," he says softly. "You learn where to hold it." Kiran clenches his fists, unable to look away. The calm in Buddha's voice disarms his fury more than any argument could. Ananda breathes out slowly, his heartbeat sensing with the rustle of the trees. Old monk Sutta, aged and silent, steps out from a shaded corner carrying a bowl of water. He kneels, placing it between Kiran and Buddha, reflection rippling softly. The moment feels suspended, as though time itself bows before this quiet confrontation. Kiran's breathing slows. The fire begins to flicker. His eyes drop toward the water bowl, where his own reflection trembles beside Buddha's. "I came to destroy your peace," he mutters, voice breaking. Buddha tilts his head slightly, the trace of a smile touching his lips. "Then your peace and mine are not separate," he replies. "For if mine is disturbed, so must yours be." The words ripple through the air like water disturbed by a leaf. Ananda steps closer. Understanding dawns within him. Peace is not defense, it is presence. The bird's song resumes, faint yet unwavering, stitching the sound of life back into the silence. 950 characters. A breeze passes through the bamboo, and the chimes above the gate begin to sing. The sound is neither joyful nor sad, simply what it is. Kiran wipes his eyes, confused by the gentleness around him. The hatred that carried him here begins to dissolve, like ink dispersing into clear water. Buddha closes his eyes once more, hands resting upon his knees. "When the storm finds no resistance," he says quietly, "it must rest." Kiran lowers his head, his voice trembling. "How do I stop resisting?" Buddha opens his eyes, the light reflecting within them as stillness itself. "Begin by breathing," he says. "The world cannot hurt you when you dwell in the breath, not in the fear." The camera drifts upward. As dawn breaks fully, the world at last exhales. 950 characters. The sun climbs higher, burning away the morning mist. The monastery's peace begins to feel fragile, like glass between shaking hands. Kiran's voice rises again, trembling with grief and shame. "He abandoned us because of you," he shouts. "You taught him to let go, but he left us with nothing." The words echo through the open courtyard, scattering birds into the air. Buddha remains still, his eyes reflecting only compassion. "And what is it you wish to hold on to, Kiran?" he asks softly. The question cuts deeper than accusation. For a heartbeat, Kiran falters, searching for blame where only pain remains. Around them, the monks continue their silent routines, sweeping, carrying water, unshaken, as though the outburst were only wind passing through trees. Yet inside Kiran, the battle begins to turn inward. Kiran paces back and forth, his hands clenching and unclenching. "Peace?" he spits. "Your peace has stolen everything." Buddha's voice remains quiet, steady as a river beneath storm clouds. "When a man seeks peace by destroying peace," he says, "he burns his own house to light the fire." The words hang in the air. Ananda steps closer, his tone gentle yet firm. "Brother, his teaching freed your brother, not from love but from fear." Kiran turns sharply, eyes fierce. "Then free me too, if you can," he cries. For a moment, the courtyard becomes a stage of stillness and trembling hearts. Buddha's gaze remains unmoving. "You are already free," he says, "but you hold the chains with your own hands." Kiran's anger flickers like a candle's last breath, and in his eyes, confusion begins to grow. 950 characters. Kiran's chest heaves. He looks around, desperate to find something solid, something that will not dissolve under Buddha's calm gaze. "Why don't you defend yourself?" he shouts. "Are you afraid?" Buddha's eyes soften, his tone barely above a whisper. "Would you strike a reflection in a lake to calm the ripples?" The courtyard falls silent. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. Ananda lowers his head, understanding the quiet teaching unfolding. Peace that does not resist becomes untouchable. Kiran's anger trembles now, fragile as smoke. He turns away, gripping the temple pillar, hiding his face. The first sign of surrender flickers in his trembling shoulders. Buddha closes his eyes again, returning to meditation, leaving only the sound of the wind, carrying away the last echoes of rage. Ananda kneels beside Kiran, voice gentle as falling leaves. "When I first followed him," he says, "I too was restless. I wanted to protect him from every insult, every wound." His eyes lift toward Buddha, who sits silently, the still point in all motion. "But I learned, peace cannot be defended. It defends itself." Kiran turns, face wet with tears and dust. "Then, what am I to do with this pain?" he asks. Buddha opens his eyes slowly. "You must see it," he answers. "Only what is seen clearly can dissolve." The words are simple, but they strike like lightning in still water. The moment stretches, the first crack of awakening beginning to form within the storm. 980 characters. The wind shifts. A bell rings in the distance, deep and resonant. Kiran lifts his gaze, eyes red yet searching. "If I stop fighting," he says slowly, "what remains of me?" Buddha rises to his feet, his movement slow, effortless, as though the earth itself supports him. "What remains," he says, "is truth." His robe flows gently around his feet, the sunlight catching every fold. Kiran stares, his anger collapsing into awe. The silence feels sacred now, not the absence of sound, but the fullness of understanding. Ananda watches, eyes bright with reverence. Around them, the monastery breathes again. The birds sing, the leaves rustle, and somewhere, far beyond, a single cloud drifts across the morning sky. Serene, unbothered, complete. The sun has reached its calm height. The courtyard glows with a quiet brilliance. Kiran sits beneath the Bodhi tree, his anger scattered like dust around his feet. Buddha remains before him, still as the mountain's heart. Why does your calm feel like a mirror? Kiran asks. Buddha answers, because it reflects what you bring. You offer anger, it shows anger. You bring peace. It reveals peace. Kiran looks down, his reflection trembling in the bowl of water between them. The surface ripples slightly, distorting his face, then clears again. For the first time, he sees not an enemy, but his own pain staring back. The wind sighs through the bamboo, and in that sound he begins to understand no one had hurt him but his own unwillingness to let go. Buddha reaches toward the bowl, tracing the water's surface with a fingertip. When the mind is agitated, he says, "The world appears broken." But when the mind is clear, the same world shines. Kiran watches as the ripples spread outward, then slowly fade. So the world is not cruel, he murmurs. Only my seeing is clouded. Buddha nods. What you fight outside, he says gently, is only the echo of what you fear within. The words settle into the air like falling petals. Even Ananda feels their weight. Not heavy, but grounding. The bamboo leaves whisper softly, as if repeating them. Kiran closes his eyes, breathes in, and the breath does not burn this time. It feels like forgiveness taking its first form. Buddha leans slightly forward, his tone steady. Look within, Kiran. What are you truly protecting? Kiran stares into the distance. My family, he says weakly. My pride. My pain. Buddha's gaze deepens. And who gave you those burdens to carry? Kiran falters, unable to answer. If you release them, Buddha continues, would you lose yourself? Or finally find yourself? The question lingers like a lantern in darkness. Ananda lowers his head, remembering his own first awakening. The courtyard feels sacred again. No longer a battlefield, but a mirror held open by compassion. The sound of distant bells rolls through the air like gentle thunder. Buddha lifts his gaze toward the horizon. Every mind is a sky, he says. Clouds pass through it, but the sky remains untouched. Kiran listens, tears streaming quietly. But I've lived among storms, he says. Then know, Buddha replies, that even the storm needs the sky to exist. Kiran's lips tremble. The words sink into him deeper than any wound had ever cut. He feels his heart loosen, not in defeat, but in release. The courtyard seems larger, the air lighter. The pain is still there, yet it no longer commands him. It merely flows through, like rain returning to earth. Buddha speaks softly, his words nearly lost in the whispering wind. You cannot stop people from throwing stones, he says, but you can stop collecting them. Kiran looks down. His hands open, empty. The weight he carried feels gone. He bows deeply, forehead touching the cool stone ground. The silence is alive, no longer oppressive but nurturing. Ananda steps back, a faint smile gracing his lips. The old monk Sutta watches from afar, eyes filled with knowing calm. For the first time, Kiran breathes without pain. The mirror is clear, and within it, he no longer sees anger, only space vast enough to hold peace. The day softens into late afternoon. Shadows lengthen across the temple courtyard, and the air carries the scent of damp earth. Buddha rises slowly, his robe gliding like flowing light. Kiran watches in silence, still kneeling, his heart fragile yet open. Buddha gestures toward a path leading into the grove. Walk with me, he says. Together they move beneath the tall bamboo, each step echoing softly on the ground. I will tell you a story, Buddha begins. There was once a man who carried a heavy stone wherever he went, believing it would protect him from pain. Kiran listens, brow furrowed. But the stone only grew heavier, Buddha continues. And when he tried to strike others with it, he struck his own heart first. The forest quiets around them. Kiran looks down at his empty hands and feels the weight that was never there yet had always burdened him. Buddha pauses near a small stream. The water glides over smooth stones, each one rounded by years of surrender. He kneels, lifting a single stone from the shallows. "This stone," he says, "once cut the feet of those who passed." But the river did not fight it. It simply moved over it, day after day, until the edges became soft. Kiran watches the water glisten across Buddha's hand. The river did nothing, Buddha continues, and yet it changed the stone. Kiran whispers, "So the river wins by yielding." Buddha smiles faintly. "Not by winning, by being." The stone slips from his hand and returns to the stream with a soft sound, vanishing beneath the ripples. Buddha places both hands in the flowing water. "The man who clings to pain," he says, "is like the one who holds this stone close to his chest. He believes it gives him strength, but every step becomes heavier." Kiran lowers his head. "I have carried such stones," he admits, "for years." Buddha looks up, eyes kind yet piercing, then lay them down. Kiran's voice trembles. "And if they return," Buddha replies, "then you will know you are still alive and can let them go again." The words settle deep within him. The stream murmurs softly, its rhythm like a heartbeat, eternal, forgiving, unbroken. As they walk back toward the monastery, the forest hums with quiet life. Birds call from hidden branches. Buddha turns to Kiran and says, "When the man finally dropped his stone, he looked around and saw that the world had always been waiting to hold him." Kiran smiles faintly, tears streaking his dusty face. "Then peace is not something we earn," he says softly, "but something we uncover." Buddha nods. Just as the sun does not create light, it reveals what has always been shining. The bamboo sways gently, as if bowing to truth. Kiran stops, feeling his heart lighter than air. They return to the courtyard as dusk begins to paint the sky. Ananda and the old monk Sutta await them, silent witnesses of transformation. Kiran kneels once more before Buddha, bowing deeply. "I understand," he whispers. "The world hurts only when I fight it." Buddha lays a gentle hand upon his shoulder. "Then no one will hurt you after this," he says. The words are neither blessing nor promise, only truth. The first stars shimmer above the temple roof. The chimes sing softly in the wind. Kiran lifts his head, his face peaceful for the first time. In that stillness, the entire monastery seems to breathe as one. Morning returns with a new quiet. The monastery rests beneath a silver sky, the air still and heavy as if the world anticipates something. Word of Kiran's encounter with Buddha has spread across the nearby village. Curious voices rise beyond the walls, whispers of disbelief, of challenge. Ananda looks toward the gate, uneasy. "They come to test what they do not understand," he murmurs. Buddha sits beneath the Bodhi tree once more, his eyes closed, face illuminated by soft daylight. "Let them come," he says. Truth does not need defense. Soon, the gate creaks open. Villagers enter, faces hardened by years of struggle. Among them, a boy tosses a small pebble toward Buddha's feet. It lands soundlessly, stirring dust. Buddha does not move. The silence that follows is not empty. It vibrates with quiet strength. The crowd thickens. Some whisper in awe. Others murmur in irritation. Kiran stands among them now, no longer the accuser but the witness. He raises a hand for silence, but the villagers shout questions. Is he a god? Is he a fraud? One man steps forward, voice harsh. "If your peace is so strong," he sneers, "show us it cannot be broken." He throws a handful of dust into the air. It swirls and falls over Buddha like rain. Buddha's eyes remain closed. His breath is steady, his face unchanging. The man lowers his arms slowly, his defiance crumbling. The villagers grow quiet. Even the wind holds still, unsure whether to disturb this calm that seems greater than sound itself. Ananda steps forward, unable to hold his concern. "Master, they mock your silence," he says. Buddha opens his eyes, the light within them calm and steady. "Then let my silence be their mirror," he replies. He rises slowly, facing the crowd. His voice carries no anger, only clarity. "If one offers you insult, and you do not accept it, to whom does it belong?" The words ripple through the air. A hush falls. The man who threw the dust looks down, ashamed. The villagers glance at one another, their eyes uncertain. Kiran watches, his chest tight with gratitude. He realizes that what he once called weakness is the highest form of strength. The strength that needs no weapon. A sudden gust of wind sweeps through the courtyard, scattering the dust. The chimes ring again, each note lingering. Buddha sits once more. The villagers stand quietly, their anger dissolving into curiosity, then into peace. Kiran turns to them and speaks softly. "He said nothing to me when I cursed him," he recalls, and his silence healed more than words ever could. The villagers bow their heads. Even those who came in doubt begin to kneel. The boy who threw the pebble steps forward shyly and picks it up, placing it beside Buddha's knee like an offering. Buddha smiles faintly. "When you stop throwing," he says gently, "you start building." As evening nears, the villagers depart one by one, their hearts lighter. Kiran remains still kneeling. The courtyard is quiet again, the air scented with sandalwood. Buddha opens his eyes and says, "Now you see. No one can harm peace, for it has no walls to strike." Kiran bows deeply. "Master," he whispers, "how do I keep it?" Buddha smiles. "By not keeping. Let it flow through you as freely as breath." The final light of day glows across their faces. The bamboo rustles, and the sound resembles laughter. Not mockery, but joy. The test has ended. The silence has won. Dawn returns, softer than before. The courtyard glows beneath pale light, the scent of night jasmine still lingering. Kiran kneels beside the Bodhi tree, unmoving, as if listening to something beyond sound. Buddha sits nearby, eyes half open, watching him with warmth. "Master," Kiran whispers, "yesterday I spoke in fire. Today my words feel like ashes." Buddha smiles gently. "Ashes do not destroy. They feed the earth for new growth." Kiran looks at his hands, once trembling with rage, now steady as still water. The silence between them no longer feels empty. It feels alive. From the far end of the temple path, a woman in white approaches, Mira, the traveler. Her steps are slow, deliberate, and her eyes carry the same calm as the dawn itself. Mira stops a few steps away and bows to Buddha. "Peace is not silence," she says, her voice like the murmur of water. It is the song that rises when the noise has passed. Kiran turns toward her, curious. "Who are you?" he asks. She smiles faintly. "Only a mirror of what you are becoming." Buddha nods. Compassion meets itself wherever it walks. The wind moves through the bamboo like a breath of memory. Mira kneels beside Kiran, placing a single lotus petal in his hand. "Hold nothing," she whispers, "and you will hold everything." Kiran gazes at the petal, its weightless perfection shimmering in the light. A tear slides down his cheek, not from sorrow but from release. Ananda observes from afar, moved by the stillness that envelops them. "Master," he says softly, "how can one remain so calm when the world still burns?" Buddha replies without looking up, "The fire of the world does not burn the one who becomes light." Mira smiles gently. "The calm you see is not escape. It is return." Kiran closes his eyes, letting her words settle into him like gentle rain. He breathes, and each breath feels infinite. For the first time, he senses compassion not as a thought, but as being itself. Soft, radiant, unbreakable. The world seems to pulse with life again. The same world that once wounded him now feels like a friend. Hours pass in silence. Then Buddha opens his eyes and says, "To know peace, one must not cling to it. Let it walk through you as the wind walks through bamboo." Kiran nods. "Then peace is alive," he whispers. "It breathes." Buddha smiles. "It breathes you." The words settle deep within his heart. Mira stands, the hem of her white robe stirring gently. "When the heart becomes soft, nothing can break it," she says. The sunlight catches her face, serene, luminous. She looks to Kiran and adds, "You are ready to walk your own path." Kiran bows to her, tears bright in his eyes, feeling gratitude that has no edge, no end. The temple bells ring once, deep and resonant, echoing through the valley. The villagers have returned, not with challenge this time, but with flowers and offerings. Kiran walks to greet them, his steps measured, his face radiant. Where anger once burned, compassion now lives. A child hands him a garland. He bends and places it before Buddha. The boy smiles, sensing peace even without understanding it. Buddha looks upon them all and says, "When peace flowers in one heart, the whole village blooms." The people bow. The air itself seems to glow. The journey that began with fury now ends in stillness that has no end. The awakening of a soul returning home. Evening folds softly over the monastery. The golden light fades into indigo, and the first stars awaken above the forest. The villagers have gone, their laughter echoing faintly beyond the gates. Only the sound of wind and distant chimes remains. Kiran sits beside Buddha beneath the bodhi tree, his robe faintly stirring in the cool breeze. "Master," he says quietly, "I no longer fear being hurt." Buddha turns to him, eyes gentle, "Because you now see that hurt and healing are the same river." Kiran nods, smiling through quiet tears. Ananda lights a small lantern, placing it before them. The flame flickers, reflected in their eyes. For a long time, they say nothing. And that silence says everything. Buddha speaks, his voice softer than the wind. "You came here seeking protection from pain," he says. "But now you see, nothing can hurt what is free." Kiran bows deeply, forehead touching the earth. "Then I am free," he whispers. "Not because the world has changed, but because I have." Buddha places a hand above his bowed head, blessing not in ritual, but in simple acknowledgement. The one who forgives himself, he says, cannot be bound again. The chime above the gate rings once, long and clear, echoing across the forest. Kiran feels the sound inside him, as though his heart and the bell have become one. From the far side of the temple path, Mira steps forward one final time. The moonlight wraps around her like silver silk. "You have found peace," she says to Kiran. "Now share it as quietly as you found it." Her eyes meet Buddha's, and for a brief moment, it seems they are speaking in silence. Two mirrors reflecting infinity. She turns to leave, her figure fading into the forest path bathed in moonlight. Kiran watches her go, the night breeze carrying the faint scent of jasmine. "Was she real?" he asks softly. Buddha's smile is quiet. "Everything that teaches love is real." The temple bells ring once more, deeper than before, their echo rippling through the forest and sky. Kiran walks to the gate, turning back to Buddha. "I will go home," he says. "Not to teach, but to live what I've learned." Buddha nods. "Then every step you take will be a prayer." Ananda watches him go, his heart filled with quiet joy. The gate closes softly behind Kiran. The wind carries the sound of his fading footsteps, steady, grounded, free. Above, the stars gleam brighter, as though bowing to a truth too vast for words. Now only Buddha and Ananda remain beneath the Bodhi tree. The world is utterly still. No wind, no sound, only the pulse of existence. Ananda kneels beside him and whispers, "Master, what shall I tell those who ask what peace means?" Buddha looks toward the horizon where night meets dawn. "Tell them," he says softly, "peace is not given, it is realized." His eyes close, and a faint smile rests upon his face. The screen fades slowly to the first light of dawn spreading over the forest, golden and infinite. The chimes sing once more, not an end, but a beginning.